The histories of Dean's Court and Wimborne Minster have been woven together for centuries.
I have never seen anything like this before.
With its chained library, stained glass, and royal tombs, Wimborne Minster is full of astonishing treasures. The beautifully restored 14th century astronomical clock with its mechanisms in the bell tower and 17th century quarterjack poised to chime out across the town.
And
Wonderful.
there goes the quarterjack.
Wimborne Minster is truly a wonder to behold.
When I married into the British aristocracy, it was the start of a wonderfully exciting journey. But it was also a little daunting. I became a Viscountess, and for an American girl from a small town outside Chicago, that was quite a shock.
I live with my husband Luke, heir to the Earl of Sandwich, and our family at Mapperton House in Dorset.
Living in a place like this is a joy, but also a challenge. And every day we're aware that we're preserving a very special part of Britain's heritage. Mapperton has opened up an extraordinary new world for me, and I can't wait to share it with you all.
So if you love castles and manors and stately homes as much as I do, please join this American Viscountess as I journey into the British countryside in search of some of Britain's finest historic houses.
I mean, it is beautiful, William.
Yeah, it is. I mean, this was the beating heart of really all the religious institutions in the south of England. But this is the Saxon tower. Here.
Ah!
Because originally the abbey, which was founded in 705 with the minster, was almost completely wood. And
Wonderful.
there goes the quarterjack. And so when the Danes attacked and destroyed the place in 1015, they burnt the abbey completely, but they didn't destroy the stone tower. And the central house at Dean's Court, the hall house buried inside Dean's Court, those are the only two pieces of Saxon Wimborne remaining because they're built of stone. And the Vikings left them alone.
And the Vikings left them alone.
Yeah.
Thank goodness.
Okay, let's go and have a look inside.
For 1,300 years, people have been visiting a building on this site.
Oh my goodness. I mean, every time I walk into a cathedral or church all across the UK, it just takes my breath away.
Yeah, and you've got this amazing sense of space that hits you as soon as you walk in.
Yeah.
With its mighty round Norman arches rising high above and beautiful medieval wall paintings, it's a reminder of how vividly decorated churches in Britain once were. Visiting a building like this is a magical journey into the past.
Let me show you something while we're here. This is an ancestor of mine, Thomas Hannam, with his wife Margaret, and he's got a very fine wall tomb. He's, by the way, the son of the Thomas Hannam who did the voyage to America and came back with the trees.
Came back with the trees?
Yeah.
So that's his son?
That's his son.
Lovely. So he's buried here?
He's buried here.
Right.
Thomas is also buried here somewhere. He used to have a wall tomb somewhere in that corner of the church, but it vanished during Victorian renovations. We don't know.
But he is here.
Well, he might be somewhere. No.
I do, of course, have to ask, you know, obviously we saw the Saxon tower outside, but how old are really different elements of this minster?
Well, as with all these buildings, it's a mixture of different ages. But the earliest bit is mainly 12th century, and this is pretty much what you see. I believe that these beautiful arches here are actually earlier than the piers that they stand on. But it's been added to, chopped and changed around throughout its life. And of course, The Victorians did a fair amount, I think, of changing around, as they
always
did with every church in the country.
But even if I look above, you know, and I see these extraordinary, but that beams up here, that looks relatively new.
Yes, I think that's probably a Victorian roof.
Right, that's a Victorian roof, right.
Yeah. But this, you can see there's a gallery up here,
yes.
which you can access via the Saxon Tower.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. No one's allowed up there anymore because of health and safety. And anyway, while we're here, let me show you, this is the Hannam family pew.
You have your own pew?
Yes.
Can I sit in it?
We can sit in it.
Do you really have your own pew?
Yeah. I have to say, this is more of a tradition than a sort of a contemporary thing, and it's a long time since I've sat in this pew myself. But this, I remember coming with my parents, and quite often sitting in this pew, and we've got here a little lockable box where we keep our own hymn books.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Only you have the lockable box.
Yeah, that was for the Hannam hymn books.
Right.
Of course, the connection between Dean's Court and this minster is especially strong because of the Saxon foundation of the abbey, which stood on this spot beforehand. There was even a rumour that there was a brick tunnel that ran between the minster and Dean's Court. My father spent years looking for it. He never found. He found an electric cable when he used to do dowsing.
Right.
He was so excited when he found it. He dug down and found an electric cable. But I think the water table was so high there that you know, old Sir John in the 19th century was reputed to have walked it every Christmas Day.
But you're not buying it because of the water level.
He would have had to swum.
Right. Yeah.
The other thing about this spot is so lovely is that you get the best view of this amazing ceiling up there. It's not actually that old. It's painted in 1906.
Oh,
and we're not sure what was there before it.
Oh, right. So that is relatively, I mean, still
pretty new for here.
100 years, but pretty new for here. That's exactly right.
But it is lovely in the middle of a service to be able to wander up and have a look at that. And in the middle, you've got the IHS for Jesus Christ as well, and the vine leaves.
The church is dedicated to St. Cuthberga, the royal princess and first abbess here who lived in the Saxon heart of Dean's Court. Generations of William's family have been at the center of life here for the past 500 years.
So your family really has, I mean, a massive connection here.
Yeah, everywhere you
hundreds
look.
of years, yes, exactly.
Yeah. For instance, here, we're in what's called St. George's Chapel, but this amazing altar frontal was made and embroidered by my great-great-great-aunt Amy, the widow.
The widow?
Yes, who we've discussed. She must have spent all of her spare time doing needlework. And this particular altar piece is signed at one end 1851 when she started it, and signed off 1891 when she finished it. So it took her 40 years.
It took her 40
Yeah,
years.
there's a huge amount of work in
And
here.
if I remember, John, her husband, was killed in 1861. Is that right?
Yeah.
Right, so she started this 10 years.
She was 10 years into it when he was killed, but she carried on, yeah. And she's encrusted it with semi-precious stones, including that huge opal, I think.
Oh yes, beautiful.
In the middle. I like to think of her sitting in the green drawing room, embroidering away and
well,
making
exactly.
this over
well,
those
Lottie's
decades.
doing the exact same thing. I mean, it's
lovely.
just
so,
fantastic.
So nice. Some
Wonderful
things don't
to
change.
see.
So
Incredible.
there it is. Wonderful, isn't it?
I mean, just brilliant.
Yeah.
At the west end of the building, William is keen to show me a rare treasure which has kept time for centuries.
So now we're heading for a really interesting bit of the
Well,
the
it's all
church.
fascinating to
It's
me.
all fascinating, but we're under the bell tower here. And you'll notice this amazingly beautiful clock here, which is an astronomical clock.
It's extraordinary.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. We think...
What does that date back to?
Well, it was first documented in 1409, but it could be a century earlier, but we don't know. But it's at least that old.
But that's quite unusual, isn't it? Something like this. I mean, it's just so...
Yeah, I mean, clocks were unusual for a start.
Well, exactly. I've literally never seen a clock like this, but also... Oh, there it is.
There we go.
Wonderful. But this is, a good, well, let me do my maths there, 800 years old, nearly.
Getting
there.
onto that. Yeah, I mean, clocks of this age are very unusual indeed, and you often find them in churches. I mean, Salisbury Cathedral's got one of the oldest clocks in the world. But this is so interesting because it predates Copernicus, who was the first man to demonstrate that actually the sun was the center of the solar system and the universe. And of course, before that, this was a very religious problem because the Earth was always considered to be the center of the universe.
Right.
And the moon and the planets and the sun were supposed to go around the Earth. And of course, that is represented here, where you get the Earth right in the center. Then you have the moon showing its phases as it goes around.
Yes.
And then on the outside is the sun.
This wonderful piece was restored to its vibrant beauty in the 1970s. However, there's more to this clock than meets the eye.
Let's head upstairs, shall we?
Yeah.
It's quite tight.
It says bell ringers only. Am I going to ring a bell?
We're going to see some bells. Here we are.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
There is the clock mechanism.
Fantastic. This is not what I was expecting, to come up that little spiral, minuscule staircase and all of a sudden to arrive this. And this is a proper room.
Yeah.
Proper room.
Proper room.
Wonderful.
This is the mechanism, and this is Bruce.
Hi, Bruce.
Hi. Who's going to tell you about it?
Oh my goodness. So the clock that I've just seen downstairs.
It's driven by this. This is the mechanism that, if you like, there's a long rod that goes into the back of the clock through the floor, and it makes the gears turn. This is not as old as that clock you saw, the astronomical clock. This mechanism is from 1743.
Okay.
So much more recent.
Right.
But it also drives the sounding of the quarterjack, which you may have seen on the outside of the tower. Every 15 minutes, a mechanism trips and he rings the quarter hour strike. On the hour, it strikes the bells like Big Ben. It strikes the hour.
Strikes the hour on the hour. So as far as repair and winding, you must be winding.
Well, that's a good question.
Yeah. I love a good wind.
Find it. Yes. What happened was that.
Oh goodness!
This is the winder.
Oh my goodness!
This is the winder that we used to use to wind up the clock, but in the 1990s, the chap who was employed to do it was getting a little bit old, so we replaced him with these whirring electric winders.
Oh, I see. That's
okay. So this isn't even used anymore.
No, but we wanted to retain the old technology.
Of course.
Because, in fact, I always say this to people. We've got the maybe 1390s clock downstairs. We've got 1743 clock here, and the 1990s electric winders. Guess which one keeps breaking down?
The 1990s. That's exactly right.
Everybody gets that right.
That's right. That's exactly right. You can't rely on.
That's right.
Oh, gosh. Oh my goodness.
Look.
Thing.
It's dramatic.
It's lovely.
12 o'clock already.
Wonderful.
Well, look at these. We've got some little weights coming up.
It's right on time.
Good we did this at 12 o'clock and not 1 o'clock.
That's exactly. That's so true. But one can never tire of, the sound of the bells. They just, I don't, or maybe you do.
No,
I
love them.
I love them. I do too.
In 1850, they had to remodel the Belfry to squeeze, I think, more bells in. So they had to break the Belfry out, basically, and rebuild it. And the wood that they took out, which was very beautiful medieval oak, was turned into 12 Gothic chairs, each with a beautiful bell carved on top. Now the Minster's got, I think, 2. Have you
That's
got
right.
2 of them here?
That's
But
right.
we have one at Dean's Court, which was in the library.
Oh, yes,
That one in the corner.
Of course.
Yeah, and
Wonderful.
we've got that because it was given when these used to be housed in the grammar school, and when the grammar school closed in the 1980s, they had to get rid of the chairs. So they were distributed amongst the 12 governors. And my ancestor John was one of the governors, so we got one of the chairs. But they are made from the Belfry. Yeah.
Wonderful. From medieval wood.
Medieval, very
Yeah.
old oak.
Yeah.
We don't
Fantastic.
quite know how old oak, but,
How
yeah.
extraordinary. Well, thank you so much
Not at all.
for really giving me a little history lesson here. But also, it was just really nice to hear it ring so many times.
Just before we leave, you'll notice all the ropes here.
Yes.
We've got apparently 13 bells up there altogether. And what's so nice for us is that 10 years ago they added a couple to the collection, little bells. And it's about a year after my father died, so we donated one in his memory.
So he's up there
ringing
somewhere,
away for
ringing
him.
away.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Back down the spiral staircase, there's more to discover.
Right, so there's one other thing to show you. And this is actually one of the most special things in the Minster. So we're going to go and have a look now.
Very excited.
Through the vestry, and there's
Wonderful.
Judith, who's
Hello.
going to take us up.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Okay, I just spotted chained library. I have no idea what that is. I've never heard of a chained
Never heard of a
library.
chained
No,
library.
I don't think we have it in America. We're only a few hundred years old. We certainly don't, I don't think we have a chained library.
I bet your mind is buzzing
It
with
certainly is.
It is.
I'm thinking, what on earth? I have never seen anything like this before. I mean, it really is. I almost thought downstairs when it said chained library, I just thought that there would be just sort of a gate around it, but these are literally chains
Yes. they
on
are.
books. But
Yep.
why is that?
Books were very expensive when this library was set up. And whilst they wanted people in the town to be able to use it, they didn't want them taking books away
Right.
and forgetting to bring them back again. So it was a fashion at the time to actually have rooms with books chained.
And what period are we talking about here?
The first books arrived in 1686,
Okay.
and it was formally chained 7 years later.
And it was chained because they found that books were disappearing.
Yes.
So this was their security system,
Yes,
really. This
exactly.
was the chains were their security system. So who would come to the chained library? Just people from the church, or?
It was set up for the people of the town.
Yes.
You had to be a shopkeeper, or what they rather snootily called the better class of person, to be allowed in. We think that meant you just had to be able to read.
Right.
Because-
Because a lot of people couldn't read.
No, exactly.
Right. But the people who could read, they would come here.
They were
Yes,
allowed to come
They were
in.
allowed to come. And so what type of books were they reading?
Virtually all the theological works of the time.
Yes.
They would have read perhaps something on gardening,
Oh,
something on how to build a house,
so quite practical.
a way to bring themselves out of perhaps poverty and have a
Yes.
new job,
Yes.
learn a new skill. So it was quite a nice idea.
Wonderful. And do you take these out? Are you allowed? Am I allowed?
We do
Are you
on
allowed?
we do on certain occasions, but
Because I just would love to
I'll
peer
get
in
this gentleman's companion because he's quite funny. He was round about the time of Samuel Pepys.
one. So Samuel
So-
Pepys I have to mention, is a cousin of my husband's family.
Oh, really?
Edward Montagu.
You see, he's got the statutory wig.
Yes. Well, who is this?
This is Mr. Ramsay,
Right. This is Mr. Ramsay, who wrote this book.
who wrote the book. And he starts off by telling his friends, don't marry a pretty woman. Because after 5 years of marriage and 4 children, she won't look anything like she did when you married.
No.
So, and if she's
You
too
wouldn't
pretty,
get away with that today.
no. After all this, she wouldn't look like that. And if she was absolutely beautiful, one of your friends might well want to take her away from you. So it was better to start off with something just quite ordinary.
Just plain. Just a
Yes.
plain Jane, as we
Yes.
would say. That is really what he wrote. So I see this was written in 1672. But I just love the title, The Gentleman's Companion, or A Character of True Nobility and Gentility. Brilliant. Well, thank you for showing me that.
I'm not sure that's a book I'll be reading cover to cover. This is an amazing place, one of the earliest public libraries in the UK.
So what else do we have here then in these cases? Because this is obviously very protected. These are the
Yes.
special pieces.
Yes. Probably the seal of Elizabeth I, which would have been on a charter like the one over on the wall there.
Yes.
This is Charles I's seal. This one is made of beeswax. So it's
Beeswax.
it's very fragile.
It's made of beeswax and it survived.
Yeah. The actual charter is now in Dorchester Museum because they have special conditions for keeping these things.
Of course.
They'd like that one as well, but we've managed to hang on to that so far.
Wonderful.
And it would have hung from a ribbon, like
Yes.
that would have, from the
Yes.
document.
From the document, right.
It's
From
carved on both sides. She's on her horse this side, and if you could turn it over, you would find she's on the throne of England, and she's got the orb and sceptre in her hands to show who
It
she
is
is.
actually carved, not cast. It
Carved.
wasn't cast from a mould. Gosh.
It's just extraordinary. Elizabeth I is, very recognizable here 500 years later. The ruff in particular, but she's very recognizable. Even without having seen, that's who I would have, definitely guessed, and it would have been quite a good guess. Elizabeth I, it's just extraordinary, especially made from beeswax, that it has actually survived. Because we don't have, this history to me as the American is just so extraordinary and unbelievable. That here I'm looking at something, almost 500 years old. My country is not even 300 years old. That this has still been preserved, really, in such the wonderful state that it is. So thank you.
This has been an absolutely glorious visit. Although I have a feeling I've only skimmed the surface of the rich history here.